This video is all about anchors. What are they, why are they, and when do we need them? We played with anchors a little bit, but we're going to really dive into these things. So a good example of an anchor, let's grab this red rectangle, and we're using the My shape so we know we can drag this around, and oh, the entire thing moves. That's exactly what an anchor does. It anchors it to another component or into another object. Doesn't matter if it's the parent or a centered object or some other object. We're also going to redo this My shape the correct way. There's a couple little bugs that we've introduced because we did it, well, the lazy man way. We just slapped a rectangle in there. Really, we need to encapsulate that inside of an item. Let's talk about some of these bugs real quick. So let's jump in here, and we're going to add a My shape. And let's call this ID shape central. And let's go ahead and anchor this. So we're going to say anchors, center in parent. Pretty self-explanatory. We've done this before. Really, it just takes the shape, doesn't modify it, slaps it into the center of the parent. And now we want to add some sort of text property here. So let's say text. Interesting. Well, I don't want to do it this way because then and we're going to add a bunch of these My shapes, every single time we have to add another text. So we're smart enough now, we understand what a property is. Let's go in here and let's say ta-da, and then we can actually add in a text. Maybe if IntelliSense wants to let us type here. There we go. And we can say parent.text. Now, depending on your version of QML, this right here will cause a bug. And the bug is subtle, but it's just extremely frustrating. You can't figure it out. On mine, it doesn't cause it, but we're going to say text. Notice how there's no bug. On some of your screens, depending on your version, it's going to say M16 invalid property, even though you know it's a property. You can see it. It's right here. So you'll look up some documentation, and it'll tell you to suppress it, and you'll have to do something like this. / at disable check M16, which is how you disable that bug. And we can get rid of that. Notice how it's unexpected token, and it says unnecessary message suppression. So my version's smart enough to know that we really shouldn't be doing this. This is a known bug. Now, when I say known bug, well, it's not really a QML bug. It's more of a design issue, meaning we did the My shape incorrectly. Really shouldn't be done this way. So let's go ahead and let's get rid of this. I just wanted you to be aware in case you get this M16 bug off to the side and it won't run your QML file. So let's just comment this out. And let's do the My shape correctly. And let's call this root. And what we're going to do now is we're going to add in some properties. So we're going to say gray is the color. Remember, when in doubt, if you don't know what the property type is, you can just say var. Will change in future versions of QML. And we could say text. Now we can right click, toggle comment selection, cut that, and just paste in. Let's get rid of this guy because it's a bit redundant. And let's move this. So now we need to position that item. Or I shouldn't say position, we need to modify that item. So I'm going to say this is a default of 100 by 100. And now we need to actually modify this rectangle. So here we're going to drop an anchor. Remember, filling will fill the parent. It's very self-explanatory. So this rectangle is going to take the entire item, which is 100 by 100. Very self-explanatory, but sometimes you'll forget to do it and you're wondering, what the heck? All right, so color this is where we're going to say a lot of times you'll see people do this. They'll say it is the color, because you can actually do that. Well, it's not going to work well because you're trying to access the color of the rectangle, and we want to access this color property in the item. So we're going to use the identifier, in this case root, and we're going to say root color. Don't really need an identifier in here. Don't really need an identifier in there. And parent.text isn't going to work because our parent is this rectangle, so we need to switch that to root. That way we're grabbing that text. Mouse area, this is where it gets a little bit interesting here, because we are now encapsulating this entire thing in here. The drag target can't be the parent, because we're just going to try and drag it around inside of the my item. So what we need to do is up that parent. So let's say here. So whatever this is in, we're going to set the drag target to its parent. That way we can freely move it around its parent. Makes sense. It's a little bit complicated the way they do this, and it's not super clear until you really do it and try it out yourself. But basically, if you left that drag target as parent, it's just going to try and drag the rectangle inside of the item. And in reality, we want to drag the item inside of its parent. Whew. All right, I think we got that down. Let's go ahead and kill that. Notice because we followed a good design pattern, we don't have to retool what's going on here. We can actually just say color. And let's make this, I need a good color. Something that really speaks to my soul. No, I'm kidding. We're just going to leave it as gray. So anyways, let's save, run. Let's test this out. Sure enough, oh, we got a bit of a bug. We need to center that. So let's go ahead, go back in here. Ah, yes. Also self-explanatory. What it does not modify the width or the height, just takes it as it is and shoots it right into the center of the parent. In this case, the parent's the rectangle. Double check. Yep. My shape is now working perfectly. We are also centered in the parent, and I want to just kind of show something here. So we're going to take a rectangle. We say width, let's say 25, height. Let's go ahead and set the color, and I want a nice pink rectangle. Why? Why not? Let's play around with the anchors here. So far we have none. That's the default. There's just no anchor. And if we save and run, it is just at 0, 0. And then we can do the XY position if we really felt like it, but there's no anchor. And ta-da, it goes bye-bye. Very frustrating that it does that. All right, so let's go ahead and set an anchor here. We're going to center in the parent. Ta-da. There we go. We're going to change that so that it works that correctly. And what I mean by that is, you notice how that pink thing kept going bye-bye. That's this guy right here. Because what we're doing is we're taking the rectangle and flipping it over in the Z stack. Let's try that again. Now, that pink thing doesn't go away. In case you need a recap of what just happened, let's go back here. What is the parent of the mouse area? Well, it's the rectangle. So when we run this, we're going to bring that rectangle up to the top when we click on it. The pink square is still there. It's just underneath, and that's not where we want it. So let's say root. This guy, ta-da. We're going to elevate that whole object up. And because this is a child, it stays right where it's belonging. Now, we're going to do anchors. Fill. Pretty obvious what this is going to do. But because we modified that my shape, we can now drag the whole thing, even with the pink object, over it. Now let's say I want to take this little pink rectangle and put it over in the bottom right. It's that simple. You don't have to mess around with width and height and calculations or any of that. You just say, hey, put it over in the right. Same thing with the bottom. Ta-da! Now it's over in the bottom. And we can still grab it, drag it around, or we could drag it over here. It doesn't really matter. So anchors are extremely intuitive, and it's almost embarrassing how simple they are because people will really, really struggle with these things. So let's go ahead and make a few my shapes. The rectangle is a good example because it's very intuitive. As it's a child, it's easy to go, okay, we're going to just anchor this to the parent. Let's go ahead and make what's called a disconnected object or disconnected component, meaning it's not a child. So this my shape is not a child of this my shape. This is just off doing its own thing. And what we're going to do here is we're going to grab some text. Let's call this center. Say this is top. Let's give this an ID. And we need to give this a good color. Something that goes good with the drapes. Why not? Green. Everybody likes the color green. Save and run. And what do you think is going to happen? Sure enough, it's over here because there's no anchor. By default, no anchor. So it's just over here. We can still grab it, but notice how the whole thing now moves around. Kind of crazy how that works. We want to anchor this appropriately. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab this guy and we're going to say anchors dot bottom, and we're going to put this to shape central's top, and then anchors dot left is going to be shape central's left. Save and run. So what we've done is we've said, hey, take shape top, this guy, anchor the bottom of this to the center's top. So we're just gluing it right on there. But now we want to take the left and line it up with the other left. So now it's nice and seamed up. And we can grab it. And it doesn't matter which one we grab, they're glued together. Let's go ahead and grab this. And now we can just start slinging these things out there. Let's call this shape bottom. And from here, it's just a matter of keying in where we want it. And let's make shape bottom, I need a good color. Blue, why not? So here we're going to say we want the top to be shape central's bottom, because we're going to put it at the bottom of the rectangle. And then we want, of course, left to line up with left. Let's test this. There it is right there. And let's make this shape left. And let's give this a color of red. And here we want our top to be the same top as shape central because we want them lined up at the top. This is where it gets a little interesting. Now we're going to switch from the left anchor to the right anchor. So we're going to glue the right side of this shape over to, you guessed it, the left side of shape central. Let's demonstrate that. So the right side is glued to the left side here, and we can just grab that whole thing. All right, so now we want, last but not least, top to top, and we want to flip these around. We want the left side of this shape glued to the right side of the central shape. Save and run, and voila. We can probably change colors on that just so it's a little more distinctive here. And it doesn't matter where we grab this thing. So you notice I'm trying to grab here. I don't know if the microphone's picking up my mouse click, but nothing's happening because we're not on that shape. But the minute we get on that shape, oh, we start grabbing it. And it doesn't matter which one of these shapes we grab, they're all glued together. And we can even grab that little pink child right there. Now, if we go back into my shape and we just kind of play around with this, and let's just say, notice how nothing's going to drag. That's what I mean. We're literally just trying to drag that rectangle around the item. And if we were to play with this a little bit more, actually, let's make it a little bigger. Let's go 50 by 50. Save and run. So the items are a little bit different, and now we can drag them around and they're free. Now when I say they're a little bit different, the items are 100 by 100, these are 50 by 50. We do not have clipping enabled, so now we can drag them around wherever we feel like, even though they're past what's called clip. Meaning if we were to save and run, the actual item is like this, and we are dragging it beyond its clip barrier. Let's go ahead and flip these back the way they were. And let's say, ta-da, back the way it was.